evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday, May 15, 2018, Howell Township Council regular meeting. May I have the opening statement and roll call, Ms. Penny?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2018, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2018, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2018. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mrs. Smith has an excused absence. Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
She will not be joining us tonight, and just for the record, Mrs. Smith will be joining us by phone this evening. Mr. Gagan, we have reason to go into executive session.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, we do. Attorney-client privilege and pending litigation matters.
Very good. Ms. Woolman, would you read the resolution?
Yes, whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intend to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12, whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed. And upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Motion to go in executive, please.
Motion to go into executive?
Second.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro.
Yes, just for the record, we will convene at 7:30. Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight is May 15, 2018. The executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need of confidentiality no longer exists. Can I please ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence after the pledge for our troops and our law enforcement and first responders. Thank you. Just a couple of things we have to take care of before we get into the meeting. So I need a motion for the minutes for May 1st, 2018.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Next on the agenda is reports of township officials. Mr. Gagan.
The only thing I have is there was a kickoff meeting recently that Councilman Walsh, Mayor Berger, and myself attended last week for the court. We're signing an agreement with CPC Behavioral where they'll be able to use them as an asset. The judge will be able to refer people to different counseling sessions, that kind of thing, for either psychological issues or drug issues, which is obviously becoming a huge issue. So it's another resource. Our court was chosen as a pilot program, and it'll be rolling out very shortly. Other than that, I believe Jim Herman has a few items.
Deputy Mayor, quite a few things here just to briefly discuss. Yesterday, I attended the public hearing for the DEP water allocation for Brick Township. I went there along with two members of the Environmental Commission, Joan Osborne and Jerry Barron, where Ms. Osborne presented a very well-thought-out letter of opposition. The case was basically just taken in, and they will issue a ruling in the next few weeks. So that was good. A couple other things. Oak Glen Road, we are scheduled to start paving on June 4th. That's where the water main has been going in on the south end of town for the last 6 months. So that'll be June 4th, final paving. Burgerville Road, where the gas main was installed over by Point of Woods, is scheduled to start May 29th. Preventorium Road from the high school to the borough of Farmingdale is scheduled to start work June 4th. Pending the outcome of tonight's ordinances, the Freewood Acres Sewer Project looks to have authorization to bid on June 11th and potentially award at the council meeting on July 17th. And finally, the DEP has passed a new TRA MS4 stormwater permit. And in that permit, one of the requirements is that the governing body has to take a training session. It's actually going to be for the governing body, the planning board, and the zoning board. It is a mandatory training session that all members of the TRA municipalities in New Jersey must take. So I'll be sending you a link and some backup information about what to do. I believe it's about a 45 to an hour long webinar, and you have to read it and certify that you took it, and then we'll put that in our permit. And that's it for tonight.
You've been busy in your arena over there.
Never stops.
Jim, in the past, we've sent some kind of notification to the residents in that area about the paving going to take place. Do you have that in your plans, as we've done in the past?
So normally we send them out for our road programs. So tonight we plan to authorize 2 different contracts for design. Shortly after we authorize them, within the next week or so, I plan to send them out to all the roads we're proposing for the 2018 road programs. For these roads, they've already been under construction for so long, we're going to hand out notices to all the residents and businesses along the route
Right.
and let them know that, we're scheduled to move your cars or whatever it may be, seek alternate routes.
And Brian, if we could get something on the website, because Burgerville, all these roads are pretty highly trafficked, roads. So if we could just get this information out to the public,
Will do.
I'm sure that'll be a good thing. Lou, you have anything?
I have nothing for the governing body this evening.
Okay. Councilman Walsh.
I'm good. Just I did go with Brian, the chief of police, the superintendent of schools last week, the judge, and some supporting staff, and very educational. I think it'd be a very good thing for people that come through the courts with problems, that there needs to be alternatives other than putting first-time offenders and minor offenders in prison. And I've been looking forward to it. It's been something we've talked about for a while. I'm glad to see our judges taking the initiative with our full support from our chief, Andy Kudik. So, like to see how it ends up over time. As pretty much we are going to be the largest test case that they've had. And CPC is a great organization, Children's Psychiatric Center. It's been around for over 40 years in Monmouth County. So, pretty excited about it.
Well, I'll just say thank you for attending. I think it's a reflection on a few things. One, that our court is recognized as one of the busiest and one of the best courts in Monmouth County. I think it also reflects on our municipal judge, who is outstanding and is on top of these issues and wants to see other things other than just throwing people in jail. So, and I think it also says something about our police department that's, you said, is fully supporting this. So, it's good for the community. And it's a good recognition of our courts. So, thank you. Mrs. O'Donnell.
Well, I would just like to say that I'm very proud to see the proclamation on this evening for the military, the National Military Appreciation Month of May. It's also in June. I asked for this to be on this evening. My son did 15 years in the Air Force, 9 active tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iran. And I will say that I'm very proud to think that this council and this community think so highly of our military that we can actually speak to this in a proclamation, as I know other towns and families share the same pride.
Well, we thank your son for his service and you as a mom for, supporting your son, and we do value our men and women of the armed forces in Howell Township. One of the things that this governing body does is proclamations, and proclamations are just not words that we say. It's really to raise awareness and bring cause to these, to things such as our military appreciation, and tonight we'll have gun violence and Relay for Life. So every month, this is a standard practice that the governing body does. We do want to bring awareness out there, and this is our way of doing that. With that, we are going to ask Mrs. Councilwoman O'Donnell to read the proclamation for National Military Appreciation Month, May 2018.
Whereas the freedom and security that citizens of the United States enjoy today are direct results of the bloodshed and continued vigilance given by the United States Armed Forces over the history of our great nation, and whereas the sacrifices that such members of the United States Armed Forces and of the family members that support them have preserved the liberties that enrich this nation, making it unique in the world, and whereas in 2004, the United States Congress passed a resolution proclaiming May as National Military Appreciation Month, calling all Americans to remember those who gave their lives in defense of freedom and to honor the men and women of all armed forces who have served and are now serving our country together with their families. And whereas the months of May and June were scheduled for the display of patriotism because during these months, we celebrate Victory in Europe, VE Day, Military Spouse Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day and Week, National Day of Prayer, Memorial Day, Navy Day, Army Day, and Flag Day. Now, therefore, the governing body of the Township of Howell do hereby proclaim May 2018 as National Military Appreciation Month in the Township of Howell, and encourage all citizens to join us in showing our gratitude by the appropriate display of flags and ribbons during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm also going to, at the end of the meeting, give a notice that, municipal office will be closed Monday for Memorial Day. I think this is a perfect time to just tell the community that that Monday, we do celebrate Memorial Day with our VFW post, and we share a parade with Farmingdale. So that information is on the website, and if you have the opportunity to attend, the men and women of our armed services really do appreciate when we come out and we show their support. So that information is on the website. It is Monday. It's at the Old Town Hall, and it's really a nice ceremony. It's no longer than 10 minutes. So I just want to give them a plug and hope the community comes out and shows their support. Thank you. And the second proclamation is Relay for Life. Councilman Walsh.
Was the Relay for Life is a life-changing event that helps communities across the globe celebrate the lives of people who have battled cancer, remember loved ones lost, and fight back against this disease. And whereas Relay for Life event brings the community together to take up the fight to eliminate cancer as a major health threat. And whereas Relay for Life is staffed and coordinated by volunteers in more than 5,200 communities and 2,700 countries. Volunteers give of their time and effort because they believe it is time to take action against cancer. Whereas Howell High School students will hold their annual Relay for Life on June 8th and 9th, 2018, to raise money for the fight against cancer, with a goal of raising $140,000 this year for the American Cancer Society. Now therefore, the Township Council of the Township of Howell does hereby salute those who make Howell High School Relay for Life event possible for their efforts in promoting awareness and raising funds that support the mission to save lives and diminish suffering. It's a great event. I've been there a few times. Inspiring. seen a lot of the use of Howell Township with many others. There'll be a lot of parents there volunteering. It's a great community event, and glad I've been able to be part of it. And with the veterans also, a lot of people don't know, it's not really a shared service, but it's something we all do together. At Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club next Thursday, they have what's known as Honor Day, where they bring in 44 soldiers in the morning to golf with 44 members, and then they bring in another 150 soldiers at night with about 500 to 600 family members of Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club and friends, and they call it Honor Day, and it's an all-day celebration. And they have different military apparatuses in the parking lot, and they bring in 4th and 5th graders from all over Howell Township. It's almost like a show and tell with the soldiers. It's a really nice event. Me personally, I bring 10 men that I had grown up with that are soldiers, that were soldiers back then. I bring them as my guest on that night, and it's always an inspiring day for me. So I'm looking forward to it again. I'm going to go early in the day. Some of my wife, who's a teacher, some of her kids will be there. So they asked if I was going to be over at Eagle Oaks, and I said, yes, I will stop over there and say hello as all the kids come in during the day. So God bless all our soldiers and all that say that they're willing to risk their lives for the wonderful lives that we get to live here in the United States of America.
I just want to echo your sentiment about the Relay for Life. I promise you, if there's one event that we could urge the public to go to, is attend Howell High School on June 8th and 9th. Hundreds of kids, and the effort that they put in to raise money, to raise awareness, 24 hours, sleeping in tents, inspiring. I can't think of the right word, but I think definitely it's something that these kids pour their hearts in, and so much planning into it. And I don't know if any of them are here, but there they are.
Great.
You'll do an awesome job, and it's such a great cause. And on behalf of the governing body, I really want to thank you all for doing that, and just hope that you get the level of support that you deserve, that you all deserve for that effort. So thank you, and thank you for being here. The last proclamation tonight is on National Gun Violence. I did have an opportunity to attend Howell High School, I think maybe a week or two ago, to speak with the Junior Statesman group. I have to tell you, it was a very articulate and well-thought-out group that is raising awareness on gun violence. It wasn't that they were, Second Amendment or about taking gun rights away. It was just really about, how they can make a difference, because it's a legitimate fear and concern that kids have today going to school. I explained to them, I don't want to, it's been a little over 30 years that I've been out of school, but we didn't go to school thinking that someone was going to come and create the havoc that has been created of late with gun violence. And they understood that it wasn't just guns, it was the mental health issues, it was social media's role and everything. They were very, very in tune, and I'm glad this National Gun Violence Awareness Proclamation is on the agenda. Whereas every day, 96 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other developed countries. Whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Whereas in January 2013, Heidi Pendleton, a 15-year-old honor student who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. Whereas to help honor Heidi and the 96 Americans who live whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 1st, 2018, the first Friday in June, as the 4th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 1st to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore, the Mayor and Council of Howell Township do hereby proclaim June 1st, 2018 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Township of Howell and encourage all citizens to support efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Good awareness, and that's why we do these things. Just one other thing that was brought to my attention, also today is Police Officer Memorial Day. I believe a couple of days ago, members of the Howell Police Department and other law enforcement agencies did their annual bike ride to Washington, D.C. to honor the memorial of their fallen comrades. Not only do they go to honor the men and women who were lost serving their communities, they also raise awareness. So we're biased up here. We say that we have the greatest police department in probably New Jersey, and if Chief Kudrick was here, he wouldn't disagree. But our men and women of law enforcement are owed a great debt of gratitude, and we thank them every day for their service and what they do for every one of us here in Howell Township and around this nation. So let's keep our police officers in our thoughts and prayers. Okay. The last thing we have to do is we have the Howell High School varsity competition cheer team. If they are here, they could come forward with their coaches. We would like to give them some certificates of appreciation. And if the members of the council will join us up front. Council?
Can't help.
Huh?
Can't help.
You go.
Get me in trouble.
Co-chair or coach?
Thought you were
He's gonna watch you butchers over me.
We're gonna let you say a few words. I'm just going to say, let's see, group all for large all music varsity, state champions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately, I never had any daughters that did cheerleading, so I'm not familiar. So maybe you could give the audience just a little background of what they accomplished, and we'll present their certificates.
Great.
Don't worry, she's not gonna let you down.
I won't embarrass you too much. So, in addition to our sideline cheerleading teams, Howell High School also has a competition cheerleading team, where this team will practice 3 times a week, and then including competitions, sometimes they're working 6 days a week to compete for 10 consecutive weekends at local competitions to prepare for the state championship. This year, our team did win states as well as an additional Group 4 title, which has to do with the size of the school which is competing. So against other schools with a similar demographic and population as ours, our team placed the highest. So those were 2 major accomplishments during this season. Yes. We also, and then we finished our season, actually, we were undefeated all the way until our last competition, where we placed 2nd at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, for a national competition. So it's just been a joy this season, watching all these girls put in all their hard work.
So congratulations, ladies. It sounds like a lot of work, and the hard work paid off. Coach, I'm going to ask you to read their names, have them come up. She's not here, so...
That's fine.
So come on this side.
Sure.
We'll call you up, please come up, accept your certificate, and then we'll take a picture, and then...
Amanda Bailey. Juliana Barrett. Tiana Cataldo. Rachel Handerhan. Ayla Kulofsky. Kylie McGowan. Jesse McKee. Catherine Perry. Angelina Pesci. Allison Pinkert. Hannah Rosenmertz. Julia Schneider. Olivia Torciello. Shelby Tremblay. Morgan Diaz. Olivia Ramos. And Paige Risley.
Why don't we get together and...
You know how to do photos.
I will tell you,
How to
every
do-
year, Councilman Walsh always requests a chair, but I'm going to overrule him because I don't think you guys want to do a chair.
Yeah, you don't Who's doing the relay?
We are.
We'll see you there. And we'll see you there.
Is this for the,
Look, they're all going home to study. How nice. It's sad.
If we could take a picture with you guys with our proclamation.
Come on up. No, we're going to do it up here.
With the proclamation?
oh, cool, okay.
Come on. Come on. Come on up. Oh, no, if you're going to take the picture, come here. Who's holding? Who's holding the proclamation?
Yeah, the picture, you're probably gonna have to stand below.
Come on, act like you like each other. Come on, come on, act like you like each other. It's always a good time, ladies. Hold on, come on over. Come on. Come on. Now, everyone make sure you get a good night's rest the night before. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. No, no, it's not happening.
Thank you so much.
My daughter's never been up there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, my daughter's up there.
Yeah, over 1,000 people, you know, activities, it's amazing, Thank you so much.
God bless you well.
Thank you so much, thank you. Please, congratulations. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you shake it. Yes, you got it, yeah, you painted all of our stuff for us last year.
Do we want copies? I made copies. Sweet, are we ready to hand them out? Yeah. They didn't ask me for,
All right, now we got a little work to
my
do, right?
report. Hang on, what number we on? Oh, we're on the discussion.
Assemblyman Ned Thompson.
Did you post one or no? No. That's gonna be, Ralph, you want me to give you the report?
We gave them the proclamation, right?
Changes to the agenda?
Let me get rid of...
You have it, right?
Okay, all right.
Be well. Get a good night's rest the night before.
Before we get to our regular business, if you will indulge us for a few minutes, I see in the House our 30th District Assemblyman Ned Thompson. Assemblyman, if you'd like to come up. We're always gracious to see our state legislators in the House.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Council. My name is Ned Thompson. I'm your Assemblyman for the 30th District. I born and raised in Avon, and actually my great-grandfather sat in the seat that I'm sitting in 103 years ago in 1950. So we've been around for a while in Monmouth County. I currently serve on the Budget Committee, which we've been doing for the last several weeks, and we'll be doing again tomorrow. We'll be doing, I believe we'll be doing the Parole Board and DCA. Division of Community Affairs. That is our process that we go through. The governor presents his budget, and the Budget Committee then reviews all the departments coming in, ask us for the funding that they hopefully will get. That's one of the committees I serve on. I serve on education as well as telecommunications and utilities. Each assemblyman in the assembly has a number of assignments, Democrat and Republican. But first and foremost, we're here to represent you in the 30th District and put a face to the name, and anything we can do for you, we'll be happy to assist in one of our largest towns in the 30th District. I live in Howell Township now, and it's a brother and sister town that we've been working together for several. I was former mayor of Howell Township in office in Howell for over 11 years, and then decided to move on up to Trenton, which has been an interesting experience, to say the least. But so if anything I can do for you, please let me know. My Chief of Staff, Brian, is always wants to accommodate anyone that wants to come and talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. We've had the great pleasure of working with Senator Singer and Assemblyman Sean Keane, who also represent the 30th District, along with Assemblyman Thompson. I could tell you that whenever we, and I'm sure the council will attest to it, that whenever a resident or we have an issue, we could reach out to them, and they are always there for us. So thank you for coming and saying a few words here tonight.
They're working with us right now. Assemblyman Keene and Assemblyman Thompson have been trying have been reaching out to the DOT. We're working on a turn lane down there by Equestria coming out of the western exit onto 33 there, and they've been very supportive and helpful, and hopefully we'll be able to get something done. Trenton works a little bit slow, but in the next 9 months to a year, I'd like to see something done there. But they've been very instrumental before in the turn lane into Equestria in the eastern entrance, and we're working on things, and I'm just thankful that whenever we reach out, that they're there to help. So, Assemblyman Thompson, thank you.
I also know that you and I have reached out to our legislators and asked for some legislation on certain issues that are affecting us, and I believe, Assemblyman Thompson, you're on top of that. We do have an issue in Howell that we have brought to your attention, and it's probably something that needs to be looked at, and I know you're on top of that. So I also want to thank you on behalf of our residents. Penny, you have anything to add to the agenda tonight?
Yes, I do. Additions that have been placed on the agenda from the preliminary to the final agenda include Resolution 9A20, authorize acceptance of the project, acceptance of final change order, make final payment, and acceptance of maintenance bond for the Department of Public Works Septic System, contract number 17-05. Resolution 9A21, award a professional services contract to Andrew Bear as Affordable Housing Council. Ordinance O-18-10, amend land use, Chapter 188, conditional uses, by adding new Section 98K entitled Placement of Small Cell Equipment and Wireless Poles in the Public Right-of-Way. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Thank you. All right, following along on the agenda, we have a discussion. We all received a email through the manager's office from North Howell Little League. Brian, if you just want to give an overview and then whatever direction we need to take on it, will that be okay?
Sure. I had received a request that they were requesting permission from the council to allow storage containers to remain on their property. Apparently, they've been there for quite some time. It's currently in violation of our standing ordinances, but apparently the council has granted such exceptions in the past. So that's been done for other Little Leagues, so they were seeking that approval. The letter had also requested some form of monetary assistance. I would ask that the council table that until I can discuss that further with them.
I would just add that I know and I don't think it's going to be a conflict, my kids played at North Howell Little League 12 years ago, and, they use these containers for storage, as well as, I believe, Central and South Howell. I understand the dilemma. Unfortunately, sometimes I don't understand how things come up, but they do. 12 years they've been there, and now it's an issue, but I personally have no issue with these containers. They're usually set back behind the field house. And as I said, I remember when I first moved here, they were using a trailer for their concession stand. They've come a long way, but obviously, I think they still need room for their equipment. And that's the purpose, from what I understand then and understand now, that's the purpose that they use these containers for.
That's correct.
So I have no objection to it, and I'll defer to the council as well. But I would like to see, this is township property, and perhaps to avoid this in the future, maybe we have some sort of exemption in whatever ordinance, Jim, this is in, that's creating this request. And, we visit it now, and then that's it, we're done with it. So if anybody has anything to add, please chime in.
No, Deputy Mayor, I think you're correct. Whatever we can do to expedite future situations that are exactly the same, we should just put a policy in place to ensure that, we're not looking at groups that are in violation, because that was obviously never the intent, and it's been a long-standing issue. So however this came to light at this point may be a blessing in disguise, so that we can actually do something to alleviate any issues in the future.
Thank you.
I'm all for granting them relief with the storage containers. But I don't know if I would want it removed. I would want them not to be able, anybody to be able to put it wherever they feel like.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so to give them an exemption totally, I don't think is appropriate. I have no problem with giving them relief if they're put in the right places, the township knows, and it's discussed that I don't want them next to somebody's property if it interferes with somebody's property. So I'm all for granting them some relief. And I actually drove over there and looked at where they are. I don't see an issue with them being there. I would wonder how it came up 12 years later, 13 years later. I think they've been there that long.
I don't think we need that answer, Jim. I know you're ready to chime in.
Yeah.
Jim, I agree with Councilman Walsh. As long as we have some parameters, you know,
I would like for all governing bodies to be able to know where they're being put so that they can say yes or no, because at the end of the day, who's going to answer to the citizens? The governing body, who's ever up here at that time. Contrary to my belief, I'm not going to be here forever. Some people have it their way, I won't be here much longer. So, as far as financial relief though, I would want to see at least 3-4 years of finances from the league, and it would have to be discussed in entirety to me. It would not be able to be discussed in just one league. We have 3 little leagues. We have a lot of other different sports organizations. And before I gave money to anyone, it would have to be discussed in entirety. And I would need to see all the financials from 3, 4, 5 previous years.
I think what the manager said is we'll do our due diligence. Let's get the whole big picture. Perhaps if you want to set up a meeting with Councilman Walsh being present or any other council member, that's something that we could discuss. But
It's golf season, don't be volunteering me.
I said if. Okay, next on the agenda is hearing of citizens. If you have any comment on consent agenda items or anything else by that matter, we will handle it now. I did not see a sign-in sheet.
There's no names on
one
it.
signed
Nobody
it.
on.
But you don't need to sign it. If you want to come up, feel free to come up. What I ask is that you come up to the podium. You can form a line if there's more than one person. Step up to the podium, to the mic, give your name, your address to the clerk, so we have it as part of the record, and shoot away.
Thank you for giving me
Sir?
the opportunity.
So you-
Good evening. Just please
pull
give,
the mic
pull
towards
the
you.
mic toward you for the record.
Okay.
Please give your name and address for the record.
My name is William Kaminsky, Bill Kaminsky, address 164 Herbertsville Road in Howell. And I'm a member of the Monmouth County group of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Similar to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Moms Demand Action is a nonpartisan group, grassroots movement, begun right after the Newtown, Connecticut school shooting in 2012. As you may have noticed, you don't need to be a mother to be a member of Moms. All adults concerned about senseless gun deaths and injuries are welcome. While Moms Demand Action recognizes the right of law-abiding citizens to own firearms, our goal is to reduce the 36,000 deaths every year through sensible legislation, raising awareness, and by promoting gun safety. I sincerely thank you for announcing the proclamation of National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Howell. I invite everyone who agrees that we can do more to save American lives from gun violence to wear orange on June 1st. This is to help spread the word about remembering and honoring all the victims of gun violence. We also invite you and your families to attend our Wear Orange rally on June 2nd in Asbury Park. It's being held in Springwood Park from 12:30 to 3:30. And I have some flyers that I can leave for further information on Moms and the Wear Orange date, Asbury Park on June 2nd.
Thank you, William. You'll leave that with the clerk, and we'll get that information out to the public.
We put that on our website?
I'm sure the manager could arrange to have that also on our website.
Sure. We'll leave some out here for the public for now.
You know, William, as I said earlier when we read the proclamation, if anything comes out of this, at least we create an environment where our children feel safe and they could, share their concerns. And, it's a legitimate fear today that kids have today. So this awareness, and I thank Councilman Walsh for also bringing this, this proclamation to our attention. But we have to have these dialogues with our kids today. They have to feel that they're in a safe environment and that they could share their concerns with us. So I just, it's something near and dear to me, and I just want to thank you for coming and wearing your orange shirt today and helping us bring this awareness to the community and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do appreciate you being here. And just so you know, we're almost there. I think we're up to 8 hirees at our special 3s with the chief of police and the governing body and the Board of Education. It's been about 3 years in the making, but we're going to have police officers in every one of our schools. And I don't know if there's a higher calling we have as a governing body than do all we can to keep our children and our citizens safe. So I'm fully supportive of it. Some people have said, why are you spending more money on police and schools? Well, it's a shared service, and it's an effort between the Board of Education, the governing body, and our chief of police, and I am fully supportive of it. And I want our children not to have to worry when they walk into a school. They're there to learn, to enjoy the interaction with other children and their teachers, and come home better for it. What they see on TV, I think they're going to school and they're starting to feel fear. And I don't think that's a good thing for our children.
No, it isn't. Absolutely not. And if you look into the organization Moms a bit more, the Moms Command Action, we further on have meetings where they call it SMART, where they go to different organizations, school boards are, acceptable, or any other organization that might want to have the talk about gun safety, just gun sense, how to, teach children that, if you're going to stay over at a house with someone, for the parents to inquire with the parents. Are they gun owners? Is the gun safely secured, locked up, unloaded, so that the children can't get into playing with a gun, loaded gun? So many accidents happen like that. It's a lot more than just the mass shootings.
Thank you for being part of the solution.
Good conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I saw you want to...
Certainly nowhere near as important as that, so.
It's okay.
I apologize in advance.
You're here, so something's important.
And I hope it's the right time. I'm not kidding. I don't know what all those people are waiting for. I'm not sure.
Name and record, and we'll just...
Good, we'll go from there.
They're here for you.
Don Green, and it's 632 Hols's Corner Road, which is in the Freewood Acres section, which is, the reason I'm here is about the sewer system getting put in. And over the past few years, I tried to inquire through the group you had in Middletown. It was a Middletown group that you had that would field some questions.
Mazer Consulting from Red Bank.
Okay.
Red Bank.
Okay. And it was difficult getting answers as much as, as much as we call and try to get as much information as we could. Then the letter came out and said, hey, here's how much you got to pay. So it's, and obviously the residents, you guys are footing the bill for that. Well, the residents are all footing the bill for the residential part, and then the commercial part is getting, split up to 24% or 26%, whatever that number is. And then they sent out can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So you sent out the the table with how much everyone has to pay, and just the numbers are just so far off when it comes to accuracy. Like, for instance, it says, I have 3 properties where I am, and it figures that I'm going to have a 7,900 square foot building. So that means every day I'm going to use 790 gallons into the sewer system. My building's 2,400 square feet, and I tried to get a bigger building on my property 10 years ago, and they said no, so which is fine. So who do I talk to about, like, hearing my specific concern, like in writing, to say, hey, before I get a $39,000 bill for this? I only have 4 employees. I don't have 7,900 square feet. So just wondering, before it's like, oh, you should have done that on May 15th. That's why I'm here.
I do believe we received an email from you, correct? Kind of giving an overview. I know the story, so.
I'll put my name to that email then.
I saw a concern on email. Jim, for the sake of time,
That's what's.
Jim Herman is the Director of Community Development. He's also handling this project. Jim, would it be appropriate to set up a meeting with Don so that, we understand one size doesn't fit all. So there's going to be some adjustments and all that. I want to assure you that,
I went through this 12 years ago in Southern Howell when we put the sewers in Route 9.
I remember that well.
From Walmart going down to the Southern Howell border. So, yes, everything is not etched in stone like the deputy mayor said.
So if that would be appropriate for you, Jim, you'll make the
Do
connection?
you want me to give a real quick, brief summary? Because I have a feeling there's a couple other people here that are probably on the same issue.
Then if
Okay.
they are, then yes, that would be
Okay.
appropriate.
So Don, to answer your question, the way this works is this is exactly like what happened in South Howell when we did the Route 9 sewer system long before I showed up here. It's an assessment program. So all of the commercial properties that are in the Freewood Acres neighborhood and on Route 9 are assessed what's called their fair share of the portion of the project, okay? And that's for the construction as it relates to their property. Now, that property is based on a percentage of lot coverage that can happen on that property. So it's based on 35% lot coverage for a building, okay? That's it. This is an initial assessment, so this is an initial spending authorization that we're doing right now. All of the funding for this project at first is going to come from the Environmental Infrastructure Trust, the NJEIT it's called, or now it's called the iBank, right, Infrastructure Bank. And what it's doing is it's giving us authorization to proceed right now to get construction started. At the end of construction, we don't know exactly what the costs are going to be yet. It could be $10 million, it could be $10.5 million, it could be $9.5 million. When we get to the end of construction, which is at least probably a year and a half from now, if everything goes the way I want it to, okay, we are going to have to certify all of the exact funds at the end of the job. So we'll have all of the contractor's costs, all of the other costs, and we'll know exactly what it is. Based on that, then we're going to go back through the same exercise and send out new notifications saying, okay, the project is complete, here are the final costs, your portion of the cost is based on your lot size and being in a commercial zone or being a commercial business in a residential zone, and you will be assessed your portion of the project that will be payable over 20 years, okay? So if you have a $20,000 payment that we calculate, it will be due $1,000 a year for the next 20 years, okay? That's exactly what we did on Route 9 South, and it wouldn't be fair to do it differently here. Now, the residential portions are slightly different, but the commercial properties are all being treated the same way. So that's what you receive. So if you receive one of those notices, you're in the zone. We do have some corrections we're going to make tonight to a few of the properties that were already actually connected to sewer that we didn't catch when we sent the initial round out. So there's some clarifications. I personally spoke to, I believe, every property owner that had that problem, and we'll read those into the record tonight. But other than that, that's how the process works for the sewer assessment for this project.
And so, just so you know, adjustments were made 10, 11 years ago. the governing body was given numbers, and then people came before us and said, well, I went to the planning board or zoning board, this is the size building they allowed me to build, well, and they were adjusted. Okay, so I don't want you to think what you have today is etched in stone.
I appreciate it. I guess.
Okay, if you don't speak into the mic, they can't pick it up.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, not a problem.
I appreciate that, and that's great. Specific to the questions like, for instance, I have 3 lots, and do I get 3 hookups, or do I get 1 hookup for the 1 building on a 3 lot?
Is it residential or is it
It's residential
commercial?
with.
Are they separate
commercial.
lots?
No, there's 3 lots, they're all separate, and it's residential with commercial use. It's right on Hulse's Corner Road. I don't want to bother everybody with all these questions, but I just want to make sure, oh yeah, we came in and we put in 1 connection, you didn't tell us to put in 3.
So just to answer that, you received a letter probably over a year ago now, specifically asking you what you wanted, where you wanted it, what the elevation of your basement was, if you have a basement, what the elevation of the piping was, so we could try to get as many of those figured out as possible. Unfortunately, it's like everything that we send out, nobody pays attention, people throw it out. We got less than half of the people to respond to us to say, hey, this is great, my sewer's on the right side of my house, please come out over here, and it's going to be a much shorter run. We did that, we received less than 50% response.
There's the young lady that we called at Red Bank. I have her name at the shop, I should have actually brought it, stupid.
Kelsey?
Very nice. What is it?
Kelsey? Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you mean.
Very nice young lady.
Well, you're interested in now. You're in good shape.
Well, all right, good. Only because she didn't know anything. Like, she knew nothing.
Well, she was the administrative assistant that was sending the letters out for us.
So I called like 20 minutes after I got the letter to say, okay, I have 3 lots. Do I want to put 3 connections? Do I pay for 3? Do I do 1? I only have 1 building? All the questions that would normally come up. She said, just fill it out like maybe, kind of like maybe you think you might want. I'm like, oh, come on.
So that's better suited for a meeting with me. We'll have to get together and see if you did respond, if you didn't respond, what we put on the plans, because we couldn't wait for everybody. So we tried as best we could to get everybody's info correct. But yeah, if you want to do that, we can set up a time and
Solve this.
No, that's what I would recommend. I mean,
I'm good. That's great. I just don't want to answer other people's too.
Yeah, that's fine.
not to plug your business, I think I know your business, the embroidery, right? Over.
do.
So,
Oh,
it's not the biggest building, so obviously it would behoove you to go meet with Jim and,
Thank you.
yeah, but you may want to do something based on the future though, too. So make sure you cover your own
Absolutely.
bases
We wanted-
here.
Yeah, to see if maybe 3 made sense. Absolutely.
And Councilman, just so you're aware, that's actually, I think, what a lot of the comments are going to be tonight,
Okay.
where they only have a residential house and we're assessing them a fee, and they don't feel like they should be assessed a fee. The problem is, you only assess a fee once by law, and if all of a sudden we come in and a month after they get the approval on the residential, they tear it down and build a commercial property,
There's no hookup fee for them,
correct?
okay?
so we're going to ask you to come up and if you want to ask the question. I have no issue with asking any question you want on this. I just want to just be clear. I think what you're hearing is that it's preliminary, the first notices that are going out. We could have a dialogue with Mr. Herman and his office, but please address the council. We'll try to answer you. If you can't get the answer tonight, know that once this project completes and things change, other things are going to change. So I don't want you leaving here tonight thinking like, you know, what you received is be-all.
So I have a different situation.
Name and
don't-
address.
Name and address.
My situation is
Name and
that
address, please.
Barry Fisher, and it's, the property is at 1775 Route 9. I'm sorry, 127.
What is that?
It's
Start
everything
over.
between 3rd and 4th going north, where Epi's Tools is, that center, and the property.
That's
is
the
What's the actual address?
2775 Route 9. So my situation is this. I was very patient, I waited for sewer and water. Never knew if it ever was going to happen. You guys are very, very proactive, but it was stalling. So what I did with my partner is I ran a water line under Route 9 to my property, put in a fire hydrant, hooked up all of my stores and my restaurant. and I
Mr.
ran a
Fisher?
sewer line.
Mr. Fisher, do you own Laser Save?
No, that's my partner.
Your partner, Howard?
Howard.
Who I spoke to? Who I already told that he didn't have to do anything? Here's your letter.
Say that.
Thank you.
Say
That
that.
was fast.
How easy.
I tell you.
We'll move on to the next one. No, these letters went out today, but I have a copy. You don't have to do anything.
I don't know if he's
You're
done
very
yet.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
You fine?
I'm perfect.
Good,
Thanks,
talk
guys.
nice,
Thank
talk
you.
nice about him.
He paid to have his own sewer installed years ago.
I also know that
God bless
property
him.
and familiar with it.
Thanks for listening. My name's Andrew Varro, and I'm here representing people from 655 Casino Drive, Howell. And I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be directed in this way, so I can talk this way if that's okay with you guys.
It is.
We just had a quick couple of questions, and now we're aware that there was an assessment done earlier that wasn't information I had earlier. But for the property, it's actually completely vacant farmland property, and we wanted to get some information on about how the assessment was done, because it's quite a substantial assessment on a property that's completely vacant at the moment. We're looking north of 360,000.
It's based on the highest and best use of the property, which is exactly how we did it on Route 9 South.
Okay.
And it's only based on a 30% total building coverage. So assuming that, some would have to be accepted out for parking lots, stormwater management, wetlands, buffers, the whole nine, 35 was the highest. And normally, you're actually allowed 70%, but I didn't really feel it was reasonable, and that was actually a decision that I made. It wasn't reasonable to use 70% building coverage,
Okay.
right? Because how could you possibly get a 50-foot buffer, get your setbacks together, your wetlands, your
Parking
driveways,
spots, you
parking
name it.
spot, just didn't make any sense. So that's how we cut it in half to get to the number we're at today.
So the assessment applies if there is actually development on the land, or if the land is not
If
developed,
it-
so it still has the assessment applied to it.
Correct. Any of the land, if it's a built or not, because the minute we put the sewers in,
Okay.
your property value just skyrocketed in value, and now you're going to either sell or develop, and then that commercial strip mall or whatever that will go in will now have a sewer system.
Understood. If by any chance they look for planning permission on this and it's not given because it's not developable land, does that mean then the assessment can be removed?
I would say it would have to be.
It would have to be. So
Well, you would have to prove that it's for environmental reasons. If there's environmental purposes, too much wetlands, riparian buffers, or something that would, lower that number,
Okay.
then yes.
Okay, so yeah, what I was asking is if we look at that and it turns out, because it's quite a lot of wetlands, if it's not able for planning permission, then we can come back directly to you or?
To me, correct. Yep.
Okay. And is it possible I can request to get your contact details afterwards?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Just so you know,
Actually, can I
as an
request that you
example,
write all your info down here?
just so you know, as an example, when we did the sewers down Route 9 South, it was probably about 11, 12 years ago now. Somebody gave us one of those lots and took the right off
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
because they didn't want to pay for the hookups for the best use.
Good.
And they gave the township the land
Okay.
and took the right off for the value of the property.
Okay.
Do you have a block and lot?
The block is 144 and the lot is 114.
Oh, is that the Beanstalk property?
It is indeed, yes.
You represent the Beanstalks? Are the Beanstalks here?
Yes.
I think I actually spoke to you, right? And we talked about a couple of the different things we needed to work on? Okay.
Can we all meet
talk
together
after?
sometime? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak? I'm sorry? Okay, if you could, Jim,
I'll
let
just give
them
it-
come up. If you could come up and, just so we
Yeah,
don't have
please,
yelling
please.
back and forth, ma'am, so we don't, he'll be more than happy to give
And
you
you
his
need-
contact.
Jim's number?
Don't even do it.
You want to sell?
Sir, why don't you come up? Sir?
Yeah, that's very important.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Sayoun, and I'm from 1035 Route 9 North.
How are you, Gabriel?
I'm okay. I'm a little upset because I'm wondering why this is being mandated.
Just tell me what you're talking. Are you talking sewers?
The sewer line.
Okay. A decision has been made over the last several years based on certain things that have occurred in that particular area.
Like what kind of things?
Well, the lots are very small. We've had many issues with the septics and the well water and contamination and stuff like that. It was the governing body's belief that for health, safety, and other reasons that putting in sewers and water is a positive thing.
Okay, and why are our tax dollars not paying for that?
Your tax dollars aren't paying for it?
We pay $40,000 a year in taxes. That's a lot of money. Why is none of it being covered?
So the $40,000 that you pay doesn't come to the municipality. It comes to the municipality, but we give it out to other areas. So,
Wouldn't one of the
your
areas be
schools,
sewage?
your schools. So there is a separate utility, a water and sewer utility, that funds these types of projects. So you pay a water and sewer bill to Howell Township sewer utility? Okay. So,
What? You pay a water and sewer bill now?
I don't know, I gotta ask.
no, because you don't have.
No, you don't.
You don't have water and sewer.
Everybody that has water and sewer pays a water and sewer bill. Those that are well and septic don't pay a water and sewer bill.
Okay.
So that's why you have to pay, because you're not paying now. You're going to receive a service. You're going to receive a benefit. You may not see it that way, but, you know, you have
But
to
isn't
look
the
at the
town also
majority.
gonna see a benefit because we're gonna be paying them for the service?
We don't get paid a water bill. It goes
But you're gonna get paid a sewer bill from us.
to the sewer, yes.
And you're using a service, right? You're going to flush your toilet. It's, you know, we don't have to go into the
I
details.
flush my toilet now and nothing, I mean, it's fine. I just don't understand why we have to pay a lot of money, and quite frankly, something that I'm afraid we might not be able to afford. And what happens when you can't afford it? You guys are gonna put a lien on the property?
There's mechanisms in place. So,
If somebody legitimately can't afford it, there is aid. If somebody just says, I don't want to pay, there's not going to be. And
are you
there's a lot of
talking
different
about?
reasons. Just so you know, the Board of Health isn't granting everybody septic permits now. I mean, just because the septic was put there 40, 50 years ago, if the septic goes bad now, doesn't mean you'll get a permit to put in another septic. So what do we tell those homeowners in that area who can't get a new septic permit, that septic is done? We tell them you can't have a house there no more because you can't have a toilet? That's not fair. It's also not fair to the neighbors.
Can you expand upon the aid you were talking about?
I don't know all the particulars of the aid. It's going to come down like a lot of aid comes down to in the county. There's different financial criterias when it comes to getting relief money-wise. I own a mortgage company as an example. There's certain income limits where people can get grants to help them buy homes in Monmouth County. But there's income limits to where they're allowed to. There's affordable housing where people have income limits where they're allowed, where they get affordable housing because of income limits. So I don't know what your financial situation is, but if you want to see if there's aid when the project is underway, they're going to ask you for a few years' financials from the business, and then you're going to go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
anyone else?
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I'd like a little more information about 7.1, request from North Howell Little League. Is that the same Little League that came in here like 12 years ago and wanted to fix up their clubhouse?
Yes, it is.
And then it became a can of peas because the guys...
Can of what?
Can of peas. The
What
guys were
does that
going to
mean?
do... It became more than it was supposed to be. The guys that were members of the Little League, the parents were going to do the work. And then they wanted to do a second story, they wanted to do an elevator.
They did do the second story, and there is no elevator.
That's right.
So
But they couldn't.
let her finish, please.
Anyway, at the time, they wanted to do the work. And then it became, because it was on township property, it was a township building, then it had to be built to code. The men could not do the work. So the town has already put money into this building, and I don't understand why they need storage containers if they have a building. Is that the same situation?
What's been relayed is that the second floor is not being currently used, and that's where they need storage bins for. So they don't have current storage right now in that building.
Are you saying they cannot use the second story? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, I think I was clear. They do not use the second floor, so these containers are where they are using their equipment storage. It's for equipment.
Is this like a trailer?
It's a box container.
Is it like a pod or something?
Yes.
Because I've been through this pod routine myself. I had a pod on my yard, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Yes.
And I got told that I needed a trailer permit for it, which is $400 every 6 months, and you have to renew it.
Yes. And I believe that's why they're coming to the council to ask for relief.
But now, are they expecting us to pay for the trailers?
No.
And then I don't understand why they can't use the second floor.
It's not accessible. The project was not completed, and it's not accessible.
But why can't they put stairs in? I don't understand.
There is stairs. When it was built, it wasn't ADA compliant. There has to be access for those that can't walk to get up those stairs, and without that access, it cannot be used. So there needs to be an elevator put in that building for them to use the second floor, and for it to be insured.
Yeah, but why are we talking about parents who want to carry equipment upstairs, not a handicapped mother?
Hold on.
We're not talking about that. Sandra, I want to keep it on focus.
I'm trying to be.
Okay, so please, your question was why they can't use the second floor.
Right.
I explained to you. I explained to you that the citizens are not supplementing these containers. These are for storage. I think I answered all your questions? Or do you just want to continue a dialogue of history that,
I just want to know if it was the same thing, because you sort of like popped this in here, and I don't think anybody in this room knows what this is all about.
there was an email received to the council.
I got that part.
Clearly, the explanation is North Tower Little League requests to continue the use of storage containers on their property, and that's what we discussed. So they've had them there for years. It now became the attention of code enforcement, and being that we have regulations, we now have to give an exemption if we so choose desire, and which we did.
Is there any reason that they can't have a wooden shed built on their property?
I would assume, and I can't speak for them, because you're asking questions that weren't in the letter, that there's probably a financial cost to have a shed. So currently, they have these storage sheds, as Councilman Walsh said, and I have said. They've been there for over 12 years that I know of, and it probably is the best financial solution for them because they have them already.
Because they got these cute little garden sheds that Home Depot sells. They're adorable. Like $2,600.
I'm sure if you would like to donate $2,600 and get one for them, they would take that as,
Sure.
I'm sure.
And they already have these trailers, Sandra, so these trailers are on the property now. So they already have them, they're utilizing them now, so they're not looking to expand more cost. They're just looking for relief.
But if they weren't renting a pod,
They're
Not
not,
renting.
they're not.
Who said they were renting pods?
It's just a huge trailer, and it's much larger than a pod, it's like a trailer that probably goes on a truck, tractor trailer type trailer.
It's a container. I don't understand. What's the question?
So, but they're not renting.
If you want a trailer on your property, as of 10 years ago, you needed to have a permit.
That still
with the clerk's
exists.
office,
That still exists.
And it was $400, and you had to renew it every 6 months.
That still exists.
And a couple of years ago, we had people coming in here that had carpets on Southern Avenue, and they got in trouble because they had 12 storage trailers on their property, and then the people at Old Frequency, they had flowers, and they had the same issue.
Yes.
So I don't understand what was done with them. Anyway, I
thank
just
you.
wanted to clarify this was the same building. Thank
Yes,
you.
it is. Thank you. Sir?
Hi, Dr. Robert Montgomery. Property is on Route 9, Block 110, .02, Lot 3. I just want to clarify, we're paying, it's just a plot of land. I've got no building, nothing on it, and I do understand, putting the sewer system in is going to increase the value and all of that, although I won't be using it for anything currently. My question is, at the time when, if somebody buys the property and gets a building and they hook it up, there's not going to be an additional cost for the hookup. That's being paid. Is that
That's
my
correct.
understanding? Is that correct?
Your understanding is correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted
Just
to
the
do.
normal from their new building.
Just
There's
what?
nothing there right now.
There's nothing, no, it's just a piece of land. So, I'm just thinking in the future, if I sell this property,
Just so you know, if you went and built the building there 10 years from now,
Yeah,
your plumber would have to hook it up from the new building to the...
sure, no, I
land.
understand that. I'm
Okay.
just saying, there wouldn't be an additional fee
Not
for
to the town.
sewer because we're paying for it now.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Consent agenda items.
Deputy Mayor, I'd like to contact Councilwoman Smith, who asked that she participate in the consent agenda.
Yes, please.
Hi, good evening, Pauline, it's Penny.
Rob.
Hi, we're about to go into consent agenda items, resolution. There is a couple of items on there. So I'm going to put you on speaker and put the mic down
You
so
know.
you can participate or
told
just
you.
listen. Hang on just one sec.
Just for the record, Councilwoman Pauline Smith is joining us now via phone. Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make the meeting, but I hope to be at the next one.
We look forward to seeing you back. Does anybody have anything to discuss on 9A1 through 9A21? Seeing none, can I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve 9A1 through and including 9A21.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Moving on to public hearing on ordinance. Do I have that in the book?
211-4s.
Lou, do you have to read anything, or do you have to do anything for 10.1, Lou?
No, Deputy Mayor, you have your statement that you're going to read, your first step.
On 10-1?
Yeah, how come mine says,
Do you want this
You
one?
want it from me? Or
you
you
have
done?
it, 10.1?
Yeah.
Excellent. Ordinance number 0-18-5, introduced and passed on first reading on 4/17/2018 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of April 20th, 2018 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
My turn. Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, providing for the construction of sanitary sewer main and laterals and related expenses to serve properties located along various streets in the Freewood Acres section of the Township of Howell and appropriating $9,258,188 therefore, and providing for the issuance of $8,795,279 in bonds or notes of the Township of Howell to finance the same, and directing the special assessment of a portion of the cost thereof.
If anyone from the public would like to come up and speak, in particular to this ordinance, special assessment bond ordinance on Freewood Acres, please come up.
Deputy Mayor, I have one quick comment on this one.
Please.
Now the appropriate time, I assume. As discussed earlier, I would like to just read into the record, we do have a few modifications to the blocks and lots tonight. It won't be shown on this ordinance, but it will be corrected for the final ordinance. The following block and lots will not be assessed. Block 110, Lot 4, Lot 11, Lot 33, 34, and 35. Block 120, Lot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.01. Block 121, Lots 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you, Jim. I do believe you said those residents will be notified or have been notified that they're not going to receive those assessments. And would it be safe to say that adjustments can be made in the future?
Yes, I personally called all 6, did speak to all of them, and followed that up with letters. And then, like you said, we will be adjusting as we go throughout the process.
Thank you. Can I get a motion by a council member, please?
Motion that ordinance number 0-18-5 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption will be published in the May 18th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, published in full.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Motion passes. The next ordinance on the agenda is 10.2 Special Assessment Bond Ordinance, Route 9. Again, can someone pass me the statement, because I usually don't use this book.
I got
Thank
this
you.
one.
No, it was a separate, it was in a,
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
thank
it's in
you.
a separate.
Ordinance number O-18-6, introduced and passed on first reading on 4/17/18 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of the April 20th, 2018 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, providing for the construction of sanitary sewer main and laterals and related expenses to serve properties located along a portion of US Route 9 in the Township of Howell, and appropriating $3,454,207, therefore, and providing for the issuance of $3,281,497 in bonds or notes of the Township of Howell to finance the same, and directing the special assessment of the cost thereof.
Thank you. If anyone from the public would like to come up and speak on this ordinance, please come up. Seeing none, I close the public portion. Can I have a motion by a member of the council?
Motion that ordinance number 0-18-6 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the May 18th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, published in full.
Second, please.
Second, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, whoever you are.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. The motion passes. Thank you. This is a big project, and this is going to, well overdue.
You know, Mayor, I thought about it, and we talked about it years ago, but there was just not a lot that could be done during the recession,
No.
so,
Everything in life is about timing, and as I could say, long overdue. So thank you for leading that effort, and it will serve the residents of that area well. We have introduction of ordinances.
11-1.
Amend salary ordinance, Deputy Director of Community Development.
Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-7 on first reading by title in order the same to be published in the 5/18/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passed on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing and meeting of the Township Council will be held on 6/12/18 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time municipal building.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Mrs. Penny, can you please read the title of the ordinance?
Yes, I can. An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
Roll call?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. The next introduction is 11.2, amend land use chapter 188, mother-daughter units. Can I have a member of the council read the ordinance?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-18-8 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the May 18th, 2018 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage by first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on June 12th, 2018 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time in the municipal building.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Title, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 4B, definitions and rules of general applicability, and Chapter 188, Article 10, Section 69, 69.1, 70, 71, 72, and 83 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is 11.3, amend traffic, Chapter 7, Schedule 17, mid-block crossings, Southern Avenue, County Road 21.
Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-9 on first reading by title in order the same be published in the 5/18/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage of reading on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage of the public hearing and a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 6/12/18 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time municipal building.
Second.
Title, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 7, Schedule 17-A, mid-block crossings, crosswalks of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Next on the agenda, amend land use chapter 188, conditional uses by adding new section 98K entitled placement of small cell equipment and wireless poles in the public right-of-way. May I have a member of the council?
Motion to introduce ordinance number O-18-10 on first reading by title and the ordinance to be published in the 5/18/18 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and pass the first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage at the public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 6/12/18 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending and supplementing zoning Chapter 188, Land Use Development, Article 11, Conditional Uses, Section 98, Telecommunications Facilities, adding new Section 98K entitled Placement of Small Cell Equipment and Wireless Poles in the Public Right-of-Way. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes. Do we have any unfinished business?
I would just like to ask something.
Sure.
Any follow-up yet on the snow removal with the villages? That I brought a letter in from one of their representatives?
Yes, I have, Councilman Walsh. So I reviewed their proposal and went back and forth with our DPW and finance officer, and it appears the villages were requesting that we pay the full amount of their contractor to plow the roads. Under the Kelly bill, like we have with many other developments in town, we pay $200 per lane mile times the number of lane miles of roads in the development. To give you a quick, for example, the initial request from the villages for 2 to 4 inches of snow is $2,950, and our payment for that same storm would have been $770.
Okay.
As it goes up to a 10-inch storm, it's almost $7,000. Our payment, once again, would have been $770. So, Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what we do for all the rest of the developments in town, is by the lane mile, and that calculation, correct?
Yes, sir. It is by the lane miles, multiplied by 200 by the amount of snow events where snow plows have been deployed.
Jim, can you get that information to Councilman Walsh? Councilman Walsh will relay that to the association at the villages, and then any further conversation, should need be, we'll deal with. I just had one other thing, Brian. I received your email tonight. I just want to put it out there because I did receive a question over the weekend on our high visibility stop signs that we put in Capitol. I understand the police department is working with Paul Navillo, DPW director.
That is correct. Police department's done an analysis of the intersections with the highest crash rates, and working with DPW currently to see what size signs are needed, how many of each, that kind of thing.
I just want to thank you for fast-tracking it because, you know, this is something that I did request in the budget to have. I will also say this, I'm shocked. I really am shocked because when people tell you where they think the accidents are, the data just doesn't support it. I saw some of these other areas, Maxim Southern and I think it was Oak Glen. You know, versus where people think maybe in Ramtown, the four-way section on Ramtown, Greenville, you know, it's just amazing. So that's going to be important that we relay that information to the public. Every intersection is important, but we're going to do these by priority.
In addition, they look at the type of accident.
Yes.
For example, is it something that the stop sign had an impact on, or was it like a rear end type collision where, you know, they didn't realize the person in front of them stopped?
I'll tell you ahead of time, 10, 12 years ago, we had an in-depth discussion with the heated room about a four-way stop or a light at down there in Ramtown, and the people were pretty adamant that they liked the four-way stop.
Yes,
That they didn't want the light. They were pretty adamant about it. And I don't know if it's any governing bodies, you know, cause or, you know, to just try to do something that the people really don't want. That's, you know, and the numbers really backed them up. But the four-way stop was very effective.
Yeah, we know the process of dealing with DOT and traffic lights and warrants, what's required, and quite frankly, the expense. Not that we put a price on safety, but it's a bigger, you know, process than, you know, sometimes people realize. And like I said, the data just sometimes doesn't support it. So let's just stay on top of that. I'd like to see these rolled out as soon as possible, and thank you for getting on that.
Mayor, one thing, if we ever did think about that, I would like to have a special meeting down in whatever section of town it was, so that the people down there, it'd be more convenient for them to participate in the meeting.
Sure. For information purposes only, public hearing and presentation, proposed realignment of Halls Mills Road in Freehold Township is taking place on Thursday, May 31st. Monmouth County will be holding a public hearing and presentation here in the main meeting room to go over the proposed realignment of Halls Mills Road in Freehold Township and partially in Howell Township. The meeting will be held on Thursday, May 31st from 2 to 4 p.m. There will be a second meeting that night from 6 to 8 in Freehold Township. It will be the same presentation, so it gives people the opportunity to come to either meeting based on their schedule to see what is proposed. I don't know if that's on the website or not, but we
Yes,
can
it
get
was
that
put up
information
today.
out. Thank you. As a reminder, municipal offices will be closed Monday, May 28th in observance of Memorial Day. I said earlier, if you have an opportunity to go to the memorial services, that information is on the township and the parade following in Farmingdale. There will be a primary election Tuesday, June 5th, 2018. Polls open at 6 a.m., 8 p.m. I believe all that information has been mailed out, your polling location and all that stuff. Important to participate. Meeting dates. The next regular meeting we have is Tuesday, June 12th. Executive session will start at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. We also will have on that day Student Government Day. That's when students come from middle school and participate and learn about the operations of government. Penny always does a fantastic job, and the kids love it. It's
Miss
just-
Allison this year?
Definitely.
It's on automatic pilot, but the kids get an opportunity to see all the services and how the operations work in the municipality, and one of the joys is that as members of the governing body, we get to participate, and they will hold a meeting here in the chambers.
7:30.
At 7:30, they will start the meeting, and again, always a fun time.
It's a long day, but a fun day.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I say.
It is. If nothing else, I'll ask for an adjournment.
I'd like to just remind everybody that there's a barbecue sponsored by the Optimist Club at Southern School and the PAL on June 9th from 2 to 4 o'clock, and culinary students from our culinary high school here in the Field Regional High School District will be doing all the cooking. Anybody that would like to come, more than welcome.
June 4th, you said?
June 9th
June 9th,
from 2 to 4.
from 2 to 4,
Probably end up going a little bit later than that.
at the PAL?
At the Southern School, yes, PAL.
Southern and Richmond, okay.
Okay?
Can we get that information out? Is that information we can get out? Noble
And there is
cause.
transportation for the seniors if they'd like to come from the villages, Surrey Downs, Equestria, or any of the other senior development. Okay? The
Maybe we,
manager's been very cooperative in seeing that there's some transportation. Look forward to having a nice day with some people, a nice little old-fashioned Howell barbecue.
oh yeah, probably a good idea to relay that to our senior services.
It already has been. There is a sign-up sheet posted down there for
Excellent.
the seniors.
Okay.
I have put out I went and put some flyers in some different senior places. I'll go out and put them out again, probably in the next, I'll wait till the middle of next week, go put them out there again. Give them a little reminder 10 days before. So,
And with that, happy Memorial Day, and I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes, if it's still raining outside, get home safe. Staff, thank you.
Thank you, Pauline.
Thank you.